Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Cassidy, and today I wanted to talk about the books that I read in February and in March, starting off with the very top of the month where I read Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo. I've really been looking for more Black literature, Black authors to read that aren't super focused on race or trauma or slavery or race in relation to whiteness, and this one fit the ticket perfectly. It follows 12 Black femmes in the UK across a wide variety of women, and that's why I really liked it, is because um, even within each woman gets their own chapter, and they're all kind of loosely related to each other, be it friend of a friend, family members, grandchildren, etc. But within each chapter, each woman shows a large amount of intersectionality within being Black. Some of them are, gay, non-binary, immigrants. It has so much intersectionality baked into it, even though the chapters are relatively short for each woman, and it really made me feel seen in a myriad of ways. The second thing I really liked about this book was the writing style, which was a bit non traditional. And I'm saying that just because she doesn't use punctuation, no quotation marks, and the sentences kind of break off in a way that ends up being really poetic. This book is definitely a love letter for and about Black women, and I thoroughly enjoyed it and would highly recommend anyone to read it. This book really helped me to figure out what I really like in a book, and I'm looking forward to reading more from this author. I haven't checked out if she's written anything else, but I certainly will. I then moved on to Dogs of Summer by Andrea Abreu, which is a translated story from Spain. It follows two girls in Tenerife that live in Tenerife, Spain, over their summer. They're both 10 years old, and it's told from the perspective of one of the girls, basically documenting their summer and their friendship. It ends up exposing girlhood in a really honest, unorthodox way. I would say it touches on coming of age, queerness, sexuality, and obsession with your body and others. And while I think this book might not be everyone's cup of tea, I know there's definitely some things in the book that I would consider difficult, especially for a 10-year-old to be talking about. The narrator navigates adult experiences and the clash between that and the naivete of them being 10 years old. Kind of feels like they're revealing a secret about girlhood, things that we felt or experienced that we weren't supposed to be talking about. If my description intrigues you, I would highly recommend this book, Mokasanga. Now, I don't read much nonfiction, but when I do, it's usually a memoir. I found this memoir, which is Cockroaches by Scholastique Mokasanga, through another booktuber, Anna Wallace Johnson, and she raved so much about the book and had such great opinions of it that I really wanted to check it out, and I am so glad I did. I don't think I've been brought to tears by a book in a really long time. The honesty and the vulnerability that she brought with this book really moved me. The book manages in so few pages to recount and talk about events that led up to the Rwandan genocide, but in the same way, or in the at the same time, is a testimony of all the loved ones that got her to where she was, and a testimony to their existence, to remembering them. And I thought it was really artful the way she was able to tie those two things in together, both a very honest history of things while also leaving this as a place for remembrance for the people that she's lost. Another book that I definitely recommend. I had a really, really good month in February, and I found a ton of books that I just ate up that I loved. And the last book that I read in February was Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, which was very interesting. I found it on when I was walking around a used bookstore, and it seemed short, it seemed kind of silly, it seemed a little bit out of my wheelhouse. And I've heard of Franz Kafka before, but I'd never read any of his work, so I just picked it up because it was really short and ended up being a really interesting read. It is about a man who wakes up one day discovering he has been transformed into a bug, and the story just follows the aftermath of that. He's the main breadwinner in his family, and it shifts the dynamic in his family from him being the breadwinner to him being someone that needs to be taken care of, which I think is an analogy that really could um, work to describe the feelings that one might have if they are one day if they one day become disabled and are unable to contribute financially to the family, and the dynamic shifts in that and the way that people see that. I don't know exactly if that was the aim, but that's definitely how I read it. And I think a story like this is something that as we as a society ages and grows, this is something that will always be a topic of conversation. So yeah, and I liked it. It was short, it was sweet, it was simple. It sounded silly, but it came out very interesting. Yes, those were all the books that I read in February. And for March, I only read two books. It was a busy month for me, and I got into a bit of a slump for a couple of reasons. One I will talk about last, but the first book that I read in March was Sula by Toni Morrison, my first Toni Morrison book, and I'm looking forward to reading. I have The Bluest Eye as well, so I'm looking forward to reading that. The origin of the We Were Girls Together, I guess I did have a theme of girlhood through a lot of the books that I've read. I think I'm just feeling really, really about the girls right now. Sula follows the stories of Sula and Nell, who are great friends and end up taking to different paths in their life. Nell ending up in a more traditional role and doing what's safe. Sula not so much, doing what a lot of people were scared of. Sula's more of a tour de force, and the dynamics that comes with a friendship where they're really close but so different. It also touches on cycles, on mother daughter relationships, on familial relationships, on relationships in general, and love, which is amazing, honestly, that it can have so much in it for such a short book. But I should stop being so surprised that brilliant authors are able to really pack in a punch and so succinctly in short amounts of books. It was lovely writing, beautiful, fantastic, honestly, fantastic book, and really looking forward to reading more Toni Morrison books. And the good reading streaks, the good reading streaks don't last forever, and they might not even last long, because the last book I read in March was Songbirds, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This book was very polarizing, and I can see why. Like many others, I was a fan of the Hunger Games series. I ate it up as a kid. had much enjoyment reading it and was excited when a, another Hunger Games book came out, and then a little bit less excited when I found out it was about President Snow. And that remains the case. It, it I've heard the arguments about, okay, you know what? Let me backtrack. Let me tell you what actually the book is about. President Snow is a child at this point in the academy, and they have assigned him and his other classmates as mentors for the 10th annual Hunger Games. So he is assigned a District 12 tribute who he ends up forming a bond with, and we follow their story. I understand why people might have liked this book, but, and it's not even about not needing to humanize Snow or give him any kind of good light. I just particularly did not like the angle that it was taken. We can hear villain origin stories, and I just wish that we doubled down on the villain origin story instead of leaving it in this weird limbo where we weren't really sure if the author was trying to make him sound bad or if he sounded bad on purpose and we were just reading someone sounding bad on purpose, trying to justify their bad decisions to an invisible to an invisible audience. The writing, I also think, explained a bit too much and could have left things up to the reader to decide. I think we can give, even though this is for young readers, I think we can give young readers more credit. But all in all, I didn't like this book because I don't think that this was a story that needed to be told. And if it was told like this, I just would have appreciated a different direction. And that is all. And there were too many songs. I'm sorry, there were too many songs. Last but not least, the pacing was very, very slow. Action, so slow. Action, slower than slow. Big reveal. Yeah, and the big reveal wasn't even worth all the slowness. The slowness didn't seem to add to the plot much. I think everyone deserves a flop. I think every artist, every creative needs to put out stuff that doesn't work out and experiment. And so I'm really not going to fault her for this. And no one's going to fault anyone for this. Um, Definitely don't know if this was the right direction to put. But I'm excited to read Sunrise on the Reaping and see if I like that one. And if I don't, we will not consider them canon. I'm just kidding. I had such a great February, especially, and I'm looking forward to amping my reading back up in the month of April. I am excited to find more books that are in my lane. I think I've really come into a stride with it. To talk about those, excited to talk about the books in April, and thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. Or if you'd like to see more of my face, you can go ahead and subscribe. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. Or if you have any recommendations for me, let me know. I will see you guys in the next one, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.